With the recent upgrade to the LMS, we also have some exciting new features built into the inbuilt editor. I'm going to take you through a tour of some of those now. I'm going to start with some pretty boring looking text, and we'll start to style that up. So some of this is not particularly new, but it's worth revisiting. There are features, for instance, to set heading sizes, such as small, medium, and large. You can make text bold or italic. Remember also, and this can speed your development up, is that some of these things have keyboard shortcuts like Control B for bold and Control I for italic. In addition, you've got some of the normal editing capabilities such as bullet lists, numbered lists, etc. But nothing's too remarkable there. But let me now jump to some of the new features, which I find really exciting. If we look to this center panel of tools, these are all multimedia tools, and there are a couple of new ones here. There's one that allows us to record audio, another that allows us to record video, and we do that directly into the browser. So let me start by recording some video. First of all, I'm going to place my cursor where I want that video to appear. I'm then going to click on the video symbol, and in a moment, I'm going to click Start Recording, and anything I say after that point for a period of up to 2 minutes will be recorded directly from my browser into the LMS, so it's really quick to get this material to our students. So let me start that process. Hello, this is me, and I'm recording a video about the new editor features. Once I've done that, I can scroll down and hit Stop Recording. You'll see the counter that's running here. And I can preview that video if I like. I can re-record it if I'm not happy with it. But in this instance, I'm going to attach that and continue editing. And you'll notice there's a percentage progress as that video is uploaded to the LMS. So I'm going to pause the recording at the moment while that completes its job. The video has now uploaded. There's a message on screen which is asking me just to give it a title, and I'm happy with the predetermined title, and that is added in. At the moment, you just see a text link, but when this is saved, the magic will happen. So let me show you some other key formatting options. So for instance, I can highlight some text here and apply color to it by using the color option here. You'll notice there's only a fairly limited set of colors, and these are the ones which have been chosen to match the Gote theming colors. So let's now turn our attention to this second row of tools, and perhaps my favorite new feature. It's called Bootstrap Grid, and it's excellent for laying out content. So imagine, for instance, I might create a bit of space here, and I'm going to add a Bootstrap Grid. Now, these might appear initially a little bit like tables. You've got columns of content. You can choose the arrangement of those columns. I'm going to choose the 3-column layout here. You'll see that that gets put in. I can add text to each one of these columns. So far, this isn't too surprising. I'm just going to do this quite quickly. Using the techniques I showed you before, perhaps I'll format up these as headings. So maybe this is a medium heading. And at the moment, this doesn't look all that remarkable, but it will when I save it. So let me just finish this off. I'm going to now save my changes. This will return us, of course, to how the audience will see this content. So here's our new content. You can see the formatting that we applied up the top. We can see our 3 columns of content. But what's really interesting and exciting about these columns is the way they behave as the browser gets smaller and smaller, particularly for people on a mobile device. So as I shrink this down so it approximates something closer to a mobile phone, you'll notice something rather curious has happened. What was 3 columns of content has now become 3 rows of content. You can see them here. So this is a notion called adaptive design, where the content adjusts and resizes to fit the device that it's being displayed upon. It's a really important concept when we're trying to ensure our content works for people on all devices. It also helps us to meet our web content accessibility requirements because these columns of content are actually really well suited to someone who might be using assistive technology. And then as I scroll my screen down, here is a video that I previously recorded. You'll notice it displays. It's been scaled to be full screen so that it fits the available space, and everything's ready for my students. Let me just go back and finalize this. I'll show you 1 or 2 more editing features. Remember that you can always return to the editor just by hitting the Edit Section button. The remaining content is fairly self-explanatory. You can do things like indent and outdent content. That can be particularly important when you're using things like bulleted or numbered lists, because then you can have sections with subsections effectively. There is a table feature, of course, so you can also create tables. However, tables should be restricted only for tabular data. So when you've got numbers that relate to each other, etc. So tables should never be used for layout, but that's okay. We now have this great Bootstrap layout feature. For those people that happen to work in HTML, that's not many of us, but some people need to see the underlying code that makes this page. There's a new HTML editor called HTML+. And the great thing about it is that it color codes your HTML. So it becomes much easier now to read this. There's a word count here that might be useful for your students if you've set them a task and they've got to achieve a certain word count. There are some additional icons and symbols that you can add, including an equation editor if you're creating mathematical equations. And finally, there's this full screen menu. So if you hit the toggle full screen, you basically now have the whole of the available window for you to edit. So particularly when you're dealing with larger bits of content, as we now have here, it's often much easier to toggle to full screen the first time. And then once you finish editing, hit toggle full screen again, and you're back to the standard view. And of course, once you've completely finished your editing, hit Save Changes, and that content is now available to your students.